You won't believe what just happened in the Harris household. After months of swirling rumors, hidden whispers, and tense social media silence, T.I. has finally broken his silence, and what he's revealed has left fans absolutely speechless. The Atlanta rap legend, known for his nonsense attitude and tight-knit family image, has just confirmed something that no one saw coming. A DNA test? Yes, a real court-backed DNA test has reportedly shattered the perfect picture of the Harris family that everyone thought they knew. According to insiders close to the couple, this test was supposed to clear the air once and for all. But instead, it blew the lid off a secret Tiny allegedly tried to keep buried for years. What started as a quiet family matter behind closed doors has now exploded into public view, with emotions running high, accusations flying, and the internet caught in a frenzy. Fans are divided. Some are defending Tiny, saying this is just another rumor to tear a strong family apart, while others are demanding answers, insisting that T.I. deserves the truth. And now, after weeks of silence, T.I. himself has stepped forward to address it all. And trust me, his words will change everything you thought you knew about this family. The tension in the air was thick long before anyone outside the Harris circle even knew what was going on. Whispers had been spreading for months, small, subtle rumors that seemed too wild to be true. But behind the cameras, behind the smiles and family photos, there was something brewing that would soon turn into a storm. It all began when T started noticing little inconsistencies, small moments that didn't add up. At first, he brushed them off. He loved Tiny, everyone knew that. Their love story had been through ups and downs, from public breakups to sweet reconciliations. But this time, it was different. According to a close source, T had been acting distant lately. Tiny tried to keep things normal, posting family photos and showing love on social media. But behind the scenes, the tension was growing. Fans sensed it too. Comments began flooding in under their posts. People saying things like, "Something feels off, and they don't look the same anymore." Little did they know, a truth was simmering under the surface that would soon blow everything wide open. It all started when a mysterious message landed in T's inbox one evening. It came from a private account. No profile picture, no name, just a simple message that said, "You need to get a DNA test. She's been hiding something from you." T reportedly laughed it off at first, thinking it was just another troll trying to stir drama. But the message wouldn't leave his mind. He deleted it, but it haunted him. The next few days, he couldn't shake off the feeling that maybe, just maybe, there was something to it. Tiny noticed the change in him almost instantly. "What's wrong with you lately?" she asked one night, her tone sharp but concerned. T looked at her and said quietly, "Nothing. Just thinking." Tiny frowned, sensing the distance, but decided not to push. She had her own worries too. Fame, family, and public scrutiny had taken their toll on both of them. But the real storm hadn't even started yet. One afternoon, while scrolling through social media, T stumbled upon a post that made his stomach twist. It was a side-by-side photo collage that fans had made comparing him, Tiny, and one of their kids. Comments were ruthless, people questioning who the child resembled, making wild assumptions. T was furious. He hated how people could be so cruel. But deep down, the words from that anonymous message started echoing again. Sources say T decided to take matters into his own hands. Quietly, without telling anyone, not even Tiny, he arranged for a private DNA test. He told himself it was just to silence the rumors, to prove everyone wrong. He wanted peace of mind. But as the days went by and the results took longer than expected, the silence in their home grew heavier. Tiny began sensing that something was wrong. "You've been acting different," she said one evening while they were having dinner. "If something's bothering you, just say it." T didn't look up from his plate. "It's nothing, Tiny. Just tired." She stared at him, unconvinced. That night, when he went to his studio, Tiny sat alone on the couch, scrolling through old photos of their family. Her eyes welled up. She didn't know what was going on, but she could feel the energy shifting. The love that once held them together was being tested, and she didn't even know why. A week later, the call came. The DNA test results were ready. T's heart raced as he opened the email, his hands trembling slightly. What he saw next made his world stop. The results didn't match. His mind went blank. He read the words again and again, hoping it was some mistake. But he sat in silence for hours, replaying every moment in his head. Memories of laughter, birthdays, family trips suddenly felt different. He didn't know what to believe. He didn't want to believe it. The next morning, Tiny noticed his energy was off again. "You didn't sleep, did you?" she asked softly. T didn't respond. She could see something was wrong, but she had no idea that the truth was already sitting on his phone screen. Later that evening, T finally confronted her. "Tiny, I need to ask you something," he began slowly. She looked at him, confused. "What's going on?" He took a deep breath. "I did something. I got a DNA test." Tiny froze. "What?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Why would you do that?" "Because people were talking," he said. "And I had to know. I had to be sure." "Be sure about what?" Tiny shot back, her voice rising. "You think I'd lie to you about something like that?" T looked down, unable to meet her eyes. "The results came in," he said quietly, "and it's not what I expected." Silence filled the room. Tiny's face went pale. "What are you saying, Tip?" she whispered. "I'm saying the test says I'm not the father," he replied, his voice breaking slightly. Tiny's breath hitched. She shook her head in disbelief. "That's not possible. That's not true. You must have made a mistake." "I didn't," T said, finally looking up. "I wanted it to be wrong. I swear I did. But this is what it says." Tiny stood there, her hands trembling, tears forming in her eyes. "You really think I'd do that to you? After everything we've been through?" T didn't respond. He couldn't. The silence between them spoke louder than words ever could. Hours later, Tiny packed a small bag and left the house. The paparazzi caught her looking distraught, and the blogs exploded within hours. "Trouble in Paradise," one headline read. Tiny spotted leaving T's home after a heated argument. Fans flooded comment sections, debating what could have gone wrong. Some said it was just another misunderstanding. Others claimed this was the end, but what no one knew was that Tiny wasn't just hurt, she was terrified. She knew something T didn't, something that could change everything. As she sat in her car, crying quietly, she called someone from her past. "It's happening," she said through tears. "He found out." The voice on the other end went silent for a moment before saying, "We always knew this day would come." And just like that, the story that had been hidden for years was about to unravel completely. What T thought was just a test for peace of mind had opened the door to a past Tiny had worked so hard to bury. The DNA results were just the beginning. What came next would shake not just their family, but everyone around them. As night fell over Atlanta, T sat alone in his studio, staring at the walls. His phone buzzed endlessly, messages from friends, calls from family, but he ignored them all. He didn't know who to trust anymore. Was it all a lie? Or was there still something he didn't know? And while the world speculated, Tiny was somewhere else entirely, making a decision that could change everything once again. Tiny sat in her car for nearly an hour before she could even start the engine. The city lights blurred through her tears as she stared blankly at the steering wheel, her mind spinning in a steering wheel, her mind spinning in 1,000 directions. She couldn't believe this was happening, not now, not after everything they had survived together. For years, they had fought off rumors, rebuilt their marriage, and presented a united front to the world. And now, because of a single DNA test, everything was falling apart. She finally drove off. Not to a friend's house, not to a hotel, but somewhere she hadn't been in a long time, a quiet neighborhood on the other side of Atlanta. She parked outside a modest home and sat there, trembling. After a long pause, she finally stepped out and knocked on the door. A man opened it, looking surprised but not shocked. "Tiny," he said softly, his voice filled with tension. "It's been a long time." I didn't know where else to go, she replied, her voice shaky. He stepped aside, letting her in. So he found out. She nodded, sitting down on the couch. He took a DNA test. I don't even know how he found out. But it's bad. Really bad. The man sat across from her, rubbing his hands together nervously. I told you this day would come. You can't hide something like that forever. Tiny looked up at him with watery eyes. I wasn't hiding it. I was protecting everyone. Protecting my family. Protecting him. But you lied, he said quietly. I didn't mean to, she whispered. It happened. I didn't think it would ever come out. I thought we could move on. The man sighed, leaning back. You know, T isn't going to let this go easily. Once that man feels betrayed, it's over. He'll burn the whole house down before he lets someone play him. Tiny buried her face in her hands. I can't lose him. Not again. Meanwhile, back at the Harris home, T's phone hadn't stopped buzzing. Calls from friends, family, even his team, everyone wanted to know what was happening. But T wasn't ready to talk. He sat in silence, scrolling through his messages, reading the words that made his heart sink even further. His oldest son, King, had texted him, saying, Dad, what's going on? People online are saying crazy stuff. T didn't reply. How could he explain something he didn't even understand himself? Later that night, his mother called. Boy, don't you let the internet tear your family apart, she warned. You and that woman been through worse than this. Mama, it ain't about the internet, T said tiredly. It's about truth. His mother sighed. Truth don't always come how you want it, son. Sometimes it hurts before it heals. T wasn't sure there could be any healing this time. As the hours passed, he started piecing things together, the late-night phone calls Tiny used to take, the unexplained absences, the tension that had been creeping into their marriage for months. Every little thing that seemed innocent at the time now looked like part of a bigger picture. By morning, the media had caught on. Bloggers and gossip pages were already posting headlines like DNA shock rocks, the Harris family, and Tiny's secret exposed. Old videos of the couple were being reshared. Fans dissecting every look, every word, every tiny sign of trouble they might have missed in the comment sections. Fans were arguing fiercely. One wrote, I don't believe it. Tiny loves that man. People just making stuff up. Another replied, nah, something's off. Look at how she's been acting lately. The whole world was watching their pain like it was entertainment. Around noon, T finally stepped out of the house, his hood pulled low. Cameras caught him leaving in his car, and fans started filming. Tip, what's going on with Tiny? Someone shouted. He didn't respond. His jaw was tight, his eyes cold. He drove aimlessly for hours, trying to clear his head, but no matter where he went, he couldn't escape the memories. Every place in Atlanta reminded him of Tiny, where they met, where they performed together, where they renewed their vows. Now all of it felt like a lie. Meanwhile, Tiny was still with the man from her past, the one she never expected to see again. They sat in silence for a while before she finally said, I have to tell him the truth. Are you sure? He asked. You know, once you do, everything changes. Everything's already changed, she whispered. The test said it all. I can't lie anymore. The man nodded. Then you should tell him the whole story. He deserves that much. Tiny took a deep breath. I'll call him. Back at the house, T's phone buzzed again. It was Tiny. For a long moment, he just stared at the screen. Then, finally, he answered. Her voice was soft, trembling. Tip, can we talk? About what? He said flatly. About everything, please. Just meet me. One last time. He hesitated. Part of him wanted to hang up, to walk away and never look back. But another part, the part that still loved her, needed to hear what she had to say. Fine, he said quietly. Where? You'll know, she replied before hanging up. He sighed deeply, knowing that whatever was coming next wasn't going to be easy. A few hours later, they met at a quiet park where they used to take the kids when life was simpler. The moment Tiny saw him walking toward her, her eyes filled with tears. He looked tired, worn out, like a man carrying the weight of the world. You look different. she said softly. So do you, he replied. There was a long silence between them before he finally said, just tell me the truth. All of it. Tiny took a deep breath, her hand shaking. It happened a long time ago, Tip. Before we were in a good place. You were busy with your music, traveling, and I was lonely. I made a mistake. One that I regret every single day. T's expression didn't change, but his eyes darkened. So you're telling me the DNA test was right? Tiny nodded slowly, tears spilling down her cheeks. Yes, but it doesn't change how much I love you. It doesn't change everything we built together. It changes everything, T said quietly. You lied to me for years. You let me believe something that wasn't true. I was scared, she said desperately. I thought if you knew, you'd leave, and I couldn't lose you. T looked away, his voice low and cold. You already lost me. Tiny broke down completely, sobbing uncontrollably. People walking by pretended not to look, but a few recognized them and took photos. Within hours, those pictures were everywhere online. T and Tiny spotted an emotional confrontation at Atlanta Park. The headlines read, "The world didn't know what had been said, but the pain on their faces told the whole story." Their faces told the whole story. Later that evening, T returned home and locked himself in his studio. He turned on the mic and started recording his voice raw, filled with pain and anger. He didn't plan to release the song, but for him, it was therapy. The lyrics were cryptic but powerful, hinting at betrayal and broken trust. Fans who later heard a leaked snippet couldn't believe it. He really talking about Tiny in that verse? One fan wrote online, "You can feel the hurt." But T wasn't thinking about music, fame, or gossip. He was thinking about his family, about how to move forward from something that had shattered everything he thought he knew. And somewhere across town, Tiny sat alone, scrolling through social media, watching as her life fell apart in real time. She wanted to call him again to explain more, but she knew it was too late. Still, deep down, she held on to a small glimmer of hope that maybe somehow he would understand. That maybe love could survive even the deepest betrayal. As the night grew darker, both of them sat in silence, miles apart, but feeling the same emptiness. Neither of them knew that another twist was waiting, one that would change everything yet again. For days after the park confrontation, T and Tiny's world spiraled into chaos. Social media was on fire. Gossip blogs were dropping exclusive sources. Fans were posting reaction videos, and old clips of the couple were being dissected like never before. People claimed they could see the signs all along the awkward body language. The forced smiles, the moments when T looked distant during interviews. Some fans were heartbroken, others said they weren't surprised. But one thing everyone agreed on: their love story, once seen as unbreakable, had just been torn apart in front of the whole world. Inside the Harris household, things were tense. The kids had started asking questions. The older ones already knew something was wrong. King, never one to stay quiet, confronted his father Hedden. "So what's going on, Pops?" he demanded, his voice low but steady. T sighed heavily. "It's grown folks' business, son." "Nah," King replied, shaking his head. "It's family business." "And I'm family." T looked at him, realizing how much his son had grown up. "Sometimes, son, the truth hurts more than the lie ever could," he said finally. King nodded slowly, sensing the weight behind his father's words. He didn't push any further, but the house didn't feel like home anymore. There was a heaviness in every room, a silence that seemed to hang in the air. Meanwhile, Tiny stayed with her friend Shakina for a few days. The two had been close for years, but this time, even Shakina didn't know what to say. "Girl, I don't even know what to tell you," she said as they sat on the couch. "You really messed up this time?" Tiny buried her face in her hands. "I know," she whispered. "I thought I was doing the right thing back then. I didn't want to ruin my family." "But look at what's happening now," Shakina said gently. "It's all out there. Everybody talking. Everybody judging." Tiny looked up, her eyes swollen from crying. "I just want my family back." Then fight for it, Shakina said firmly. You can't change what happened, but you can be honest about everything now. Tell your side before somebody else twists it. Tiny nodded slowly. She knew she had to speak, but she didn't know how. Anything she said would be dissected, twisted, and turned into headlines. But staying silent was making things worse. That night, she opened her phone, went live on Instagram, and took a deep breath before speaking. I know there's been a lot said about me and my family lately, she began softly. And I just want to say, I'm not perfect. I made mistakes. I hurt someone I love. And for that, I'm sorry. Fans flooded the comments instantly. We still love you, Tiny, one wrote. Just tell the truth. Another said, sometimes, she continued, her voice shaking, we do things out of fear. We think we're protecting people, but we end up hurting them more. I never meant to lie. I never meant to cause pain. I just wanted to keep my family together. Her eyes filled with tears as she said, I love my husband. I love my kids. And I just hope one day they can forgive me. The live ended, and within minutes, clips of it were everywhere. Some fans sympathized, saying they could see her pain. Others accused her of using emotion to gain pity. But one person who didn't react publicly was T. He saw the live but said nothing. Instead, he turned off his phone and sat in silence. He was torn. Part of him wanted to believe her that it had been a mistake, a moment of weakness. But the other part couldn't forget the years of deception. Later that night, a knock came at his studio door. It was one of his closest friends, Killer Mike. Man, you okay? He asked, stepping inside. T shook his head. Nah, not really. Killer Mike sat down. Listen, bro, I know this hurts, but don't let this be the thing that destroys you. Y'all built something real. You got a family, a legacy built on lies. T snapped. How I'm supposed to live with that? You live with it by facing it, Mike said calmly. You don't gotta forgive her right now, but don't let hate eat you alive either. That ain't who you are. T stayed quiet for a long time, staring at the floor. I don't even know who I am right now, he said finally. Meanwhile, Tiny's confession had set off another chain reaction because someone else had seen it too. The man from her past, the one who knew the truth, had stayed silent all these years out of respect. But now that the story was out, he was getting calls from journalists offering money for an interview. One of those journalists managed to track him down. And within days, an explosive article was published titled, "The Man Behind Tiny's Secret Speaks Out." In the interview, he didn't name names directly, but he dropped enough hints for everyone to figure it out. I never meant for this to go public, he said in the article. But the truth was bound to come out. We both made mistakes. I don't blame her for wanting to protect her family. The story went viral instantly. Every news outlet picked it up. Every gossip page ran with it. Suddenly, it wasn't just a private matru, it was national drama. When T saw the article, his blood boiled. She let him talk. He said out loud, slamming his phone down. He called Tiny immediately. You let this man speak to the media about us? I didn't know he was going to do that. Tiny cried. I swear I didn't. Nah, you've been protecting him the whole time, T said coldly. You ain't protecting me. You protecting him? That's not true, she pleaded. Please, Tip, you have to believe me. I don't have to believe nothing no more, he said before hanging up. Tiny broke down again. She knew the damage was getting worse by the hour. And the saddest part, she couldn't control it anymore. The next day, T posted something cryptic on his Instagram story. Loyalty ain't tested when everything good. It's tested when everything fall apart. Fans instantly knew it was about Tiny. The post went viral within minutes, and even celebrities began weighing in. Some of their famous friends tried to stay neutral, posting things like sending love to both of them or praying for healing. But others couldn't help taking sides. One rapper tweeted, "If a man gotta take a DNA test in his own house, the trust already gone." Another replied, "Don't judge until you walk in their shoes." The hip-hop world was divided. Podcasts were debating the scandal. Reality TV shows were discussing it. And fans online were writing essays analyzing every detail. Through all of this, T withdrew further into himself. He stopped answering calls, stopped showing up to public events, and even canceled a few appearances. People close to him said he wasn't sleeping or eating much. He was just lost. But then something unexpected happened. A week after the article, Tiny showed up unannounced at the studio again. This time, she wasn't crying. She looked calm, almost determined. "What you doing here?" T asked coldly, not even looking up from his desk. "I needed to see you," she said quietly. "Not to argue, just to talk." "I think we done talking," he said. "No," she said firmly. "You've heard the lies, the rumors, the gossip. Now I want you to hear the truth, every single part of it, even the parts that'll hurt me." T finally looked up at her. "Why now?" "Because if I don't tell you everything," she said, her voice trembling, "someone else will, and they won't tell it right." T leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "You've got 5 minutes," he said coldly. Tiny took a deep breath and began. She told him everything, the loneliness, the mistakes, the guilt that had eaten her alive ever since. She told him about the night everything changed, about the man who came back into her life when she was at her weakest. And she told him how, when she found out she was pregnant, she panicked. She didn't know what to do, so she stayed silent. By the time she finished, tears were rolling down her cheeks. "I know you hate me," she whispered, "but I never stopped loving you. I was scared. Tip. I thought if I told you, I'd lose you forever." T sat there quietly for a long time. The anger on his face softened slightly. For the first time in weeks, he saw the woman he'd fallen in love with, the one who stood by him through fame, scandal, and hardship. "You should have trusted me," he said finally. "I know," she whispered. He stood up, walked to the window, and looked out at the city. "This ain't something we can fix overnight," he said. "It might not be something we can fix at all. But I appreciate you finally telling me." Tiny nodded. "I'll wait. However long it takes, I'll wait." As she walked out of the studio that night, T felt something shift inside him. The anger was still there, but so was something else, understanding. For the first time, he saw her not as the woman who betrayed him, but as someone broken by her own choices. But before either of them could process what came next, another shock was waiting, one that would drag the entire Harris family even deeper into the spotlight. The next morning started like any other, quiet but heavy, the kind of silence that feels louder than sound itself. T hadn't slept much. He just sat in the studio all night, replaying Tiny's words in his head. Part of him wanted to believe her, to see the humanity behind her mistake. But another part couldn't shake the image of that DNA test. Those cold words on paper that changed everything. He hadn't even realized. The sun had come up until his phone started buzzing again. This time, it wasn't a call from family or friends, it was his manager. "Bro, you need to see this," the voice said urgently. T rubbed his eyes. "See what?" "Turn on your TV, man. It's everywhere." He grabbed the remote, turned on the screen, and froze. A news anchor was speaking. And on the screen was a headline that read, "Exclusive. Another DNA test." Surfaces. T's world rocked again. T's heart dropped. "What now?" he muttered under his breath. The report said that a second DNA test, allegedly done by a different lab, had surfaced online, one that contradicted the first results. This new test claimed that T was the biological father after all. Nobody knew where it came from, who leaked it, or if it was even real. But it spread like wildfire. Social media exploded. So, was the first test fake? Fans tweeted, "Who's lying?" Others demanded answers. Podcasts were live streaming instantly, debating what it all meant. Was someone setting T up? Was Tiny telling the truth all along? Nobody knew, but everyone had an opinion. Tiny woke up to hundreds of missed calls and messages. She scrolled through her phone, her hands trembling as she saw the chaos online. Her first instinct was to call T, but she hesitated. After last night, she didn't know if he'd even pick up T, on the other hand, was furious. He grabbed his keys and drove straight to the clinic that had done the original DNA test. His security guard trailed behind him, trying to calm him down. "Boss, maybe we should wait till we know more." "I'm done waiting," T said, his jaw tight. "I'm getting the truth right now." When he arrived, he demanded to speak to the director. After nearly an hour of waiting, a man in a white coat finally appeared. "Mr. Harris," the man said nervously, "I understand your frustration, but we assure you the test was handled properly." "So how come there's another one saying the opposite?" T shot back. "Y'all trying to play with my life, my family, my name." "We can't speak for any other test," the man said carefully. "But if there's another result, it didn't come from us." T stared at him for a long moment, then turned and walked out. The moment he got in his car, he called Tiny. "Did you do this?" he asked coldly the moment she answered. "Do what?" she replied, sounding genuinely confused. "The new test, the one saying I'm the father. Did you set this up?" "No." "Tip, I swear I didn't," she said quickly. "I just woke up and saw it online. I don't know who's behind it." He was silent for a moment. "Somebody lying? And I'm gonna find out who." By afternoon, the story had taken on a life of its own. Conspiracy theories flooded Twitter. Some claimed T had faked the first test to make Tiny look bad. Others said Tiny had paid someone to forge the second one to save her image. People were arguing, posting screenshots, tagging the couple, demanding explanations. Tiny's best friend Shakina went live, trying to defend her. "Y'all don't know the whole story," she said passionately. "Stop judging. They going through real stuff right now." But the comments were brutal. Then another twist, K-Man Anonymous Insider posted online claiming that someone close to the family had tampered with the first DNA test to cause chaos. The post didn't name names, but it hinted that a jealous relative might have been involved. This revelation added fuel to the fire. Bloggers jumped on it instantly. Was it a setup from inside the family? One headline asked, "New twist in T and Tiny DNA scandal." Meanwhile, T's oldest daughter, Zonique, reached out privately to both her parents. "Y'all gotta stop letting the world control your story," she said over a group call. "We're all hurting. You, Mom, the kids, everybody. But this public war, it's destroying us." Tiny's voice cracked as she replied, "Baby, I never meant for any of this to happen." "I know, Mama," Zonique said gently, "but you gotta fix it. Both of you do." T stayed quiet. He hated that his kids were caught in the middle of all this. He'd always prided himself on being a family man, on teaching his children strength and loyalty. Now, the very thing he valued most was being ripped apart by secrets and lies. That evening, he called a family meeting. Everyone gathered in the living room, Tiny, the kids, a few close relatives. The atmosphere was heavy, but T's tone was calm. "I called y'all here because I'm tired of this circus," he began. "This family been through too much to let the world decide who we are." Tiny nodded, her hands clasped tightly together. "We're going to get the truth," T continued. "A third test, done the right way, with both of us present. No leaks, no rumors, no games. Whatever the results say, we face it together." For the first time in weeks, Tiny felt a flicker of hope. "I agree," she said softly. The next day, they went to a completely new clinic under fake names. No media, no entourage. The test was done quietly, efficiently, with both of them there to witness every step. Afterward, they sat outside in the parking lot, waiting in silence. After about an hour, the technician came out with a sealed envelope. T took it, but his hands shook slightly. He looked at Tiny, then at the paper. "You open it?" he said quietly. Tiny hesitated. "You sure?" "Yeah," he said. His eyes locked on hers. She tore open the envelope slowly, her breath catching as she read the results. Then tears filled her eyes. She handed it to him, and for a moment, he just stared, confused. Then his eyes widened. The test confirmed T was, without question, the biological father. He froze, his mind racing. So the first test was wrong, he whispered. Tiny nodded through her tears. I told you, Tip. I told you. I didn't lie. For the first time in weeks, he didn't feel anger, just exhaustion and disbelief. Everything he'd been through, the pain, the fights, the public humiliation, all of it because of a mistake. He exhaled deeply and rubbed his forehead. We went through hell for nothing. Not for nothing, Tiny said softly. Maybe we needed to face everything, even the lies, to really see what's real. He looked at her, eyes tired but softer now. You still should have told me everything, he said quietly. I know, she whispered, and I'm sorry for all of it. A long silence followed. Then T said, we got a lot to fix, but maybe we can start again. Tiny nodded, tears streaming down her face. I want that more than anything. They sat there for a while, just breathing. The world outside still buzzed with noise and opinions. But for the first time in a long time, it didn't matter. The next day, T decided to address the situation publicly. He posted a short video on his social media, speaking calmly but firmly. A lot been said about my family, he began. A lot of lies, a lot of noise. But the truth always finds its way to the light. I ain't perfect, neither is she. But what we got is real, and it's ours. We gone handle our business like a family, not like a headline. Fans flooded the comments, shocked and relieved. Some praised his maturity, others celebrated their reconciliation. The video quickly went viral, and within hours, Tiny reposted it with a heart emoji and the words, always us. For the first time in months, people saw hope instead of chaos. Still, the scars were there, the pain, the mistrust, the damage done. But there was also a new understanding, one built not on image or fame, but on truth. In private, T told Tiny, I can't promise everything will go back to how it was, but I can promise I'll try. She smiled weakly. That's all I need. And as the sun set that evening, the Harris family, though bruised and battered, found a small piece of peace again. They knew the world would keep talking, that the headlines wouldn't stop. But this time, they were ready to face it together because, in the end, no DNA test, no rumor, no mistake could define who they were to each other. And that, right there, is the storm that left fans speechless and the entertainment world spinning. From secret DNA tests to public heartbreak, from lies to redemption, T and Tiny's story had it all. What started as a quiet whisper turned into one of the biggest dramas the internet had ever seen, filled with twists no one saw coming. For weeks, fans lived every moment with them, every rumor, every confession, every tear. And now, as the truth finally settles, everyone's asking the same question. Can love really survive something like this? Maybe this is more than a scandal. It's a story about forgiveness, about facing your mistakes, and about how even when everything falls apart, there's still a chance to rebuild. T and Tiny showed that behind the fame, the music, and the headlines, there's still just two people fighting for their family, trying to find peace in a world that thrives on chaos. But what do you think? Do you believe T made the right choice by forgiving Tiny? Was she justified in hiding the truth out of fear? Or do you think some lines just can't be crossed, no matter what? Let me know your thoughts down below, because this story has everyone talking, and your opinion matters here. Don't forget to hit that like button if you were shocked by these twists, subscribe to stay updated on the latest celebrity drama, and ring that notification bell so you never miss the next wild revelation. Trust me, in the world of fame and secrets, there's always another story waiting to break. You'll want to be here when it does.